So the first thing you want to do is take all of these tops off. You don't have to take the whole top off. You can just go like that and then set them aside. You can actually steam the greens of radishes, but these radishes have gone a little wilty on the top, so I'm just going to be composting all of the leaves. So then you want to move over to the sink and just rinse your radishes thoroughly. So the first thing you're going to want to do is slice your radishes. If you have a mandolin, this will be a lot easier, but I do not, so I'm just going to be using a sharp knife. And you want to take your freshly washed radishes and you just take off a little bit on the end with like the little root bit. You don't want to eat that. You can compost all of these scraps, and then you want to just take off the little leaf top. So then next you want to slice them. Now slice them as thin as you can. That's about as thin as I can slice them with a knife. And they don't have to be perfect, just as long as they are somewhat consistent in size, because that way they will all pickle nicely. But when you start to get down to only a little bit left, just be careful, go slow. And then if you want, you can just chop this little piece into pieces. So that's what we're looking for. And then if you want to keep your space clean, you can take your jar and just start plopping them in your jar. It also gives you kind of a good gauge for how much more radishes you need to chop. And as you get better, you will go a little bit faster. But again, just be really careful. Be careful too if you're using a mandolin, because those can be very sharp. And you can do this with any kind of radish. You can also add in other vegetables if you'd like. Pickled radishes go really well with cauliflower and carrots and onions. So next we're gonna chop some garlic. I really like garlic, so I'm going to do about 4 cloves. If you don't want it as strong of a garlic flavor, you can do 2. I'm just slightly using my knife to press on the garlic. Helps release the flavor better, and it helps you crack off the little outside easier. Just like that. And then just chop it into like 3 bits and put it in our jar. And any brown spots I'm going to remove too. So that's all of our garlic. So now I'm going to make a simple brine. This is really easy. So all you're going to need is some kind of vinegar and water, some sugar, salt, and pepper. I'm using apple cider vinegar today because that is what I have on hand. I've done this with white vinegar. It's really delicious with white wine vinegar, but any vinegar will do. If you're making 1 full jar like I am, these are the measurements that you're going to need. If you're making more, you'll just have to double it. 1 cup of apple cider vinegar. Then you're going to get 1 cup of water. So for the brine, it is equal parts water to vinegar. Then you're going to need some kind of sweetener. I'm using sugar. This is just like raw cane sugar. And I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 tablespoons. I'll do 3.5 tablespoons. Then you're going to need about a teaspoon of salt. And you can use whole peppercorns, but I don't have any, so I'm just using a black peppercorn grinder. That's the basic brine. I'm going to take this over to the stove. So I've got my pot on a medium heat, and I'm going to stir it until all the sugar is dissolved. Once all of the sugar and the salt is dissolved, you can just leave it on the stove until it comes to a boil. If you're doing a small amount of brine, it's going to come to a boil rather quickly. So our mixture has just started boiling, so we're going to turn off the heat and bring it over to our jar. So you very carefully want to pour your hot liquid over your radishes. And you'll see that they start to change color. They're essentially going to cook a little bit in this hot vinegar. And you don't want to stick them in the fridge right away. You want to kind of put your lid on like that. You don't want to touch the jar with your bare hands because it's going to be hot. So I'm just going to slide our jar over there. Once it's finished cooling, cool to the touch, you can touch it, then you can put your ring on and tighten it and stick it in the refrigerator. I would leave it in the refrigerator overnight for about 8 hours, and then it'll be all done and you'll have amazing pickled radishes.